over a line. He jokingly told Cheyenne that it was a funny story she could tell to her next wife. Cheyenne was not offended. She was curious. She asked if Van really thought she was new pretty. Van compared her to a bleached-out Halle Berry. It was a strange comparison, but she took the compliment and went to make some calls. The conversation turned toward the physical side effects of weight loss. Van asked Barbara Jean if it was true that when you lose a lot of weight, you want to do the thing he described as the bounce-ka-bounce. Cheyenne was upset by the crude remark, but Van tried to soothe her by saying she was still hot, comparing her to a bleached-out Jan Brady. When she corrected him, he pivoted to Marcia, acknowledging her as the superior Brady sister. Barbara Jean had an idea. She suggested that Reba should come down to the gym and meet Jordan. She claimed he would change her life and that he was so much more than a personal trainer. He had taught her how to work out, how to eat right, and they even discussed the clothes she would wear and the movies she would see. This raised an eyebrow for Reba. She questioned what movies had to do with getting in shape. Barbara Jean admitted it had nothing to do with fitness. They just shared the same sense of humor. She spoke about how Tim Allen killed them with laughter, whether he was playing a dog or Santa Claus. She pleaded with Reba to meet her best boyfriend. She quickly corrected herself, saying the word had come out wrong. Reba declined the offer, choosing to stay home with her smoothie, which she described as fruit gravy. Later, Brock found Barbara Jean and asked if she wanted to go out for a quick lunch. Just the two of them. She declined, saying she had to go to the gym. Brock asked her to skip it just this once, promising to take her to a romantic French restaurant. Barbara Jean refused with a rhyme, saying no confondu bras. Brock was left alone with Reba, complaining that he had been blown off again. He felt that all she wanted to do was spend time with Jordan. He admitted that while he liked the new physical appearance, he was not a fan of the new attitude. Reba pointed out the irony, given his own history. Brock admitted he was worried that Barbara Jean might be having an affair. Reba found the idea ridiculous. She pointed out that Jordan was likely a better man, better looking and younger than Brock, but she insisted that Barbara Jean was faithful. Brock begged Reba to go to the gym and spy on them. Reba initially refused, but Brock was spiraling. He felt that now that she was thin and hot, she had too many options. Reba suggested he just be honest and tell her he needed a hug, but Brock mocked the idea of appearing weak and whiny. Back at the house, Van was watching Reba prepare for her power walk. He mocked the way old people power walked, swinging their arms as if there was a sale on false teeth. Reba informed him she was not going for a walk. She was bothered by how everyone was acting crazy because of this fitness craze. Van mentioned that Brock was worried about Jordan taking Barbara Jean for a spin. Van argued that men were animals who only cared about hot women. He used a play on words, calling them hot dogs. He told Reba that when you have a hot lady, you have to keep your guard up at all times. Reba asked if he used to do that for her. Van tried to dig himself out of the hole, saying he had grown into a mature and stable individual. Reba did not like the answer. Reba decided to talk to Ben about the trainer. Ben agreed that while the guy might be interested in Barbara Jean, she was not looking for trouble. He pointed out that she was terrible at keeping secrets, and that since she viewed Reba as her best friend, she would have already told her. In fact, she would probably want Reba to meet him. This realization hit Reba like a bolt of lightning. She headed for the gym. When Reba arrived at the fitness center, she was overwhelmed by the sea of beautiful people. Barbara Jean greeted her warmly and introduced her to Jordan. Jordan was every bit as fit and charismatic as described. He complimented Barbara Jean on her outfit, noting that her other clothes were getting baggy. He praised her for doing the impossible by losing the weight and keeping her curves. Jordan encouraged Reba to join them, telling her she would not get into shape just by watching. He insisted she needed to sweat. Reba felt out of place, but she watched as Jordan helped Barbara Jean stretch. The physical closeness of the stretching routine made Reba uncomfortable. She questioned if it was legal or necessary. Jordan explained it was critical to stretch the muscles to avoid injury. The stretching became more intense, and Reba felt the heat in the room rising. She was sweating just watching them. When it was time for weightlifting, Reba decided she had seen enough. Barbara Jean asked if she was interested in a personal trainer. Reba joked that she would only consider it if he took her to dinner first. Barbara Jean insisted it was one of the best relationships she had ever had. Reba thought Jordan had his hands full, but Barbara Jean suggested she start with another trainer named Dot. Dot was an intimidating figure who immediately took charge of Reba, telling her she looked tense and needed extra time on the stretching. Reba was forced into a workout she was not prepared for. When Reba got back, Brock was waiting for her, desperate for information. He asked if Jordan was small enough for him to take in a fight. Reba told him he was big, though not as big as Dot. Brock asked if there was something going on. Reba admitted that while she wanted to tell him there was nothing to worry about, the way they worked out together was incredibly intimate. She joked that if they kept working out like that, they might end up having a baby. This was the final straw for Brock. When Barbara Jean returned home, he confronted her. He told her he knew all about her and Jordan. Barbara Jean was confused, insisting they were just working out and that it was perfectly innocent. She asked Reba to back her up, but Reba tried to stay out of it. Reba eventually blurted out that Brock thought they were having an affair. Barbara Jean finally revealed the truth. Jordan was gay. The room went silent. Reba was shocked. She asked how she could have thought that. Barbara Jean asked if Reba really thought she would let a straight man touch her in that way. She explained that he was not touching her inappropriately. He was simply arranging things for the sake of the workout. Brock was relieved, but Barbara Jean was hurt. She realized that Brock felt threatened by her new self. She listed her new attributes, her slim waist and toned legs. She accused Reba of spying on her. Reba admitted she had gone to the gym because she thought something was happening. Barbara Jean asked why she would think that. Reba said it was because Barbara Jean had changed, becoming pushy and obnoxious, always wanting to be the center of attention. Barbara Jean pointed out that she had always been that way. Reba had to admit that was true. Something had changed, though. Barbara Jean suggested it was the way they looked at her. She was still the same person, just less winded. Brock apologized, saying Reba had gotten him worked up. Reba confessed that she had almost hoped to find Barbara Jean doing something wrong, so she could feel superior to her. Surprisingly, Barbara Jean was delighted. She realized that, for the first time, Reba actually wanted to be her, or at least wanted to look like her. Reba denied it and left to get something to eat. In the final moments of the day, Van and Cheyenne had a quiet moment. Van was watching television when Cheyenne approached him. She told him she had been thinking that maybe he did not see her as new pretty because she did not do enough to keep his interest. Van assured her she was very hot. Cheyenne revealed she had bought a wig to change her look. Van told her to put it down. He explained that when he looked at her, he did not just see a beautiful girl with a great body. He saw his wife. He told her he was attracted to her whether she was dressed up or sitting on the couch in her old pajamas. He loved her for who she was. Cheyenne felt stupid for doubting him, but Van told her that her occasional silliness was also part of why he loved her. They headed upstairs together, leaving the chaos of the day behind. Cheyenne realized that sometimes she just wanted to feel new pretty, and in the arms of the person who loved her most, she always was. The house finally settled into a peaceful quiet. The journey toward health and self-acceptance was a long one, filled with misunderstandings and jealousy, but the bonds of the family remained unbroken. They were survivors, each in their own way, navigating the changing tides of life with humor and a heart full of love. Reba sat in the kitchen, taking a final sip of her smoothie. It might have tasted like fruit gravy, but it was the taste of a woman who was proud of who she was. A woman who knew that true beauty was not found in a gym, but in the strength of her own spirit. The morning sun drifted through the windows of the house, but it did not find the usual abundance of a well-stocked kitchen. Instead, it illuminated empty shelves and vacant corners where snacks once resided. Ben stood in the center of the kitchen, his hands on his hips, staring in disbelief at the sheer void that had been created in such a short amount of time. He turned to his companion, his expression a mixture of awe and genuine concern. "That woman is out of control," Ben remarked, his voice echoing